If you aren't making big money on YouTube, then it's most likely because you're making at least one of these 7 mistakes that are silently killing your business on YouTube. So in this video, I'm going to reveal the 7 mistakes and show you exactly what you can do about them so you can start making more money. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Jacob and I have another channel with almost 1 million subscribers, and I've also made a pretty decent amount of money from helping other people grow their businesses on YouTube. And on this channel, I'm documenting everything that I learned along the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so for the first mistake, we might as well start with what I just did, which is the intro of the video, because a lot of businesses seem to fuck up this intro, which means that they have bad retention, they lose a bunch of people. And if you get bad retention, then that also means less views and less revenue. And the mistake I see here for a lot of businesses is that they start the video with something like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacob and blah, 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 blah. And the problem with this is that nobody cares about that. It takes way too long for you to get to the meat of the video, and you just end up blabbering about a bunch of stuff that nobody cares about. And then for those that actually know that they should have some sort of hook that grabs people's attention and keep them watching, then they still forget something that's really important for people to keep wanting to watch. So let's go over what that is right now. And the intro framework that I started using consists of 4 steps. The first step is we want to confirm the click. And the last 3 steps in the framework is something that I got from Alex Hormozi, which is proof, promise, path. And to explain to you what those 4 steps are, I think it's just easiest to go through my intro and then show you exactly what part is what. So if we go back to the intro of this video, I started out by saying something like, if you aren't making big money on YouTube, then it's most likely because you're making at least one of these 7 mistakes that are silently killing your business on YouTube. And in that first sentence, I'm first of all confirming the click, which means that I'm very quickly stating that this video is in fact about the 7 mistakes that are killing your business on YouTube. So I'm basically saying something very similar to the exact title of the video in the very first sentence. And that should make the viewer much more relaxed and feel like they clicked on the right video. Because imagine if I started talking about something completely different, then they would be like, is this even the video that I clicked on? Did I click on the wrong video? And then they click away and then they try to find something else, and yeah, then you lost a viewer. So confirming the click is really important. You can do that in a lot of ways, but in this case, I did it with a bold statement. And the bold statement in itself is also a hook in itself, because this statement should make people think that, all right, if I'm not making the money I want, then maybe I'm actually making one of these 7 mistakes. So what are these 7 mistakes? Am I actually making one of these? And if I then know what these are, can I go ahead and fix them and make more money? That's at least what I'm trying to do with that sentence. And then we have the next sentence in the hook, which is, so in this video, I'm going to reveal these 7 mistakes. And that part of the hook is the path, which is basically just the format of the video. And in this case, the format is that we're going through the 7 mistakes that are killing your business. So I'm basically just saying in the intro that this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go over these 7 mistakes. And then I move on in the intro and say, and show you exactly what you can do about them so you can start making more money. And that is the promise of the video. That is what they're gonna be able to do with the information that I'm giving in this video. And then the whole last part is pretty much a bunch of proof that I've actually done what I'm preaching, so that people aren't gonna be like, why should I take advice from some dude that I don't even know, that probably haven't done this himself? So it's super important that I state this up front and say, I have actually done this myself. Otherwise, most people aren't likely gonna listen to me. So that is my 4-part hook framework that you can try it for yourself in your next video and see if that improves your retention. And if you want a written breakdown of this hook framework with examples, then I'm gonna leave a link in the description so that you can just download it. And then hopefully it's easier for you to remember and implement in your next video. So you can just grab that in the link in the description below. The next mistake is that you're focusing way too much on this thing right here, the 1 out of 10 rankings. Most business owners focus way too much on getting views. And this might seem a little bit counterintuitive, because aren't views kind of important if you want to make sales? Doesn't more views equal more sales? Actually, it doesn't, because if you're only focusing on tracking a metric like views, which is a quantity metric, and you don't have a quality metric to pair it with, then you don't really know the quality of the traffic that you're getting. So if you're only optimizing for views, then you might end up making more and more videos that are optimized to getting more and more views, but that might at the same time lead to getting less and less sales. And that's actually exactly what happened to Alex Hormozi. He made wider and wider content to get more and more people, because at least some of those people might be interested in business, and then they would end up buying his book and applying for his investment portfolio. But in reality, that is not what happened. So Alex Hormozi actually ended up switching back his strategy to only talking about business instead of those wide topics. And that led to a lot less views, but he actually made a lot more sales at the same time. So what we can learn from that is that we don't want to rely only on a quantity metric like views. We also want to pair that with tracking a quality metric, which in this case will be tracking leads and sales. So of course, it's a good thing if we get more views, if that also means more sales and more leads. But if we end up getting more views and not see any increase in sales and leads, then what does it matter? We can't really pay our bills with views, so we want to see those leads and sales go up as well. And that leads me to the next mistake, which is you're making the content that you want to make instead of making the content that your audience wants. So oftentimes I feel like business owners are so deep into their craft and they're so excited about it that they forget that their audience has a completely different lens. They have a completely different way of viewing the problems and the topics, which means that all of the things that you want to make videos about might not be the stuff that your audience wants. So every time you make a video, you want to verify that there's actually demand for that topic. And not only that, you also want to verify that there's actually demand for the packaging. Because you might be like, yeah, but I know there's demand for this topic because I get a bunch of questions from my customers about this. But then if you package it in a way that you think is good, then it might not fit with what your audience actually wants to click on. So you always want to do a little bit of research and figure out if there's demand for the topic and the packaging. And a great way of doing that is using vidIQ's Chrome extension, because with that, you can see these outlier scores. By looking at those, you can figure out if any of these videos do better than others. So for example, this video right here, it has an outlier score of 3.1x, which means that it gets 3 times more views than an average video on his channel. So this looks kind of interesting. And if we look at the title, you can see that the title is Brutally Honest Truths That Give You an Unfair Advantage in Life. I have watched a bunch of Alex Hormozi's content already, so I know that this video concept is something that does really well on his channel. If we just go to the popular section right here, you can see that he actually has more videos that are very similar to that video format. So for example, this video right here is 13 years of brutally honest business advice in 90 minutes. This is just a bunch of learnings from 13 years of business experience that's compressed into one video, which is something that obviously does very well. It gets 16 times more views than he normally gets. And you can actually see that he tried to double down on the same format and topic. So right here, he has 13 years of no BS business advice in 79 minutes, which is very similar to this video right here. And this just tells us that this format of compressing a bunch of advice into one video and having proof that you've done a lot of work over the years, that does really well. So we have some sort of proof of concept here. So I could try and take that concept and convert it into something that works in my niche. So I could take this title right here and say, I have 11 years of YouTube experience. So I could say 11 years of no BS YouTube advice in X minutes. And then we have a title that we know have proof of concept in another niche, and then we can test it out in our niche and figure out if it does well there. And most likely it will, because it already has proof of concept here. You know, the business niche is very similar to what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about business on YouTube. So most likely this video concept will do very well on my channel as well. And the great thing about looking at a channel that's a little bit outside your niche is that you can pretty much just copy it word for word and just convert it to your niche. And then you won't be looked at as someone that's just copying because you converted it to your niche. So it's something completely different. Whereas if you look at someone in your niche and take inspiration from them, then you need to make a lot more changes to make it into something that doesn't look like a copycat. And if you have a hard time converting these titles into your own niche, then vidIQ actually has a really cool feature right here, which is called the remix feature. And with that, you basically feed it with a bit of information about your niche, and then it can remix those titles into something that fits your niche. So you can see right here that vidIQ came up with this title right here, 14 years of no BS YouTube growth hacks in 60 minutes. And then it also has a bunch of other business related stuff. But I think in my case, the YouTube stuff would work better. So that's a really easy way of coming up with great titles without having to do a bunch of work. And right here, we have a concept that we are pretty sure will work in our niche. So this is a great way of doing things instead of just blindly making stuff that you want to make. okay? The next mistake is something that I am quite guilty of, to be honest, because I tend to really want to dive deep in the nuances of things. I want to explain things in detail that I learned and share the passion that I have. And of course, that might feel great to me. I might feel super smart because I break things down in a way that is kind of mind-blowing to me. But oftentimes what happens when I do that in a YouTube video is that I make the audience feel stupid. And of course, if you guys feel stupid, then you don't want to feel that, so you click away, and that hurts my retention, my views, and my revenue. So instead, what you want to do is you want to break things down in a very, very simple way. It's not about making you look smart, it's about making your viewer feel smart. So oftentimes, as business owners, we feel like we have to explain things in a very complex way that show off our skills and knowledge and stuff like that. And we think that by doing that, we position ourselves as experts. But in reality, if you can explain things in a very, very simple way that anybody can understand, even a 5-year-old kid, then your audience is going to be like, wow, I never thought of it like that. They actually understand it. They're going to learn something new, which makes them feel super smart. And that's a great feeling that makes them stay. If you feel overwhelmed and feel like things are too complex, then your audience is definitely going to feel the same way as well. Probably even worse. The next mistake that is killing your business is you're only teaching people how to do stuff. You're making way too many how-to videos. And the reason why you're probably doing this is because you always hear that you should deliver a bunch of value on your YouTube channel for free. But the problem with only making these how-to videos, and just to be clear, I do want you to make some how-to videos. I don't want you to just go ahead and remove all of those. I do want you to deliver some value, but you shouldn't only make how-to content, because the problem is that if you only make those, then your audience will feel like they get everything they need. They feel like they don't really need your help anymore. And if you want to make content that converts into sales, then you need to get people to feel like they need you. So instead of only making these how-to videos, I want you to also make content that focuses on what people should do and why they should do it. And then you leave out the how, because the how is what you deliver in your product. So I'm teaching you what you should do and why you should do it, but I don't really show you how you create that product, how you go ahead and sell it and all that kind of stuff. That is what I then will teach you exactly how to do in my program. And by making content like this, you get your audience to be like, all right, so I definitely want to make a high-ticket product as well, because I also want those benefits that Jacob got. But how do I actually make that product? How do I want to structure it? How can I make a product that I can sell for 3, 4, 5K? How do I actually go ahead and sell it on YouTube? So now they get the feeling that they need your help with executing on that thing. So by doing that, you're getting more people to want to buy your product. So you're making content that are much more likely to convert. All right, so for this one, I wanted to take a look at this video right here, because this is a video from a creator called Callaway, who's awesome, by the way. I love his video, so this is by no means me hating on him. But the problem with this video is his descriptions, because he stuffed a lot in here. And when you expand it, you don't really know where to start. You don't really know what to look at, which makes you kind of confusing. And what happens oftentimes when you get confused is you end up leaving. So the conversion rate of the description goes way down when you stuff it with this much. And someone who really understood this is Nygaard. If you look at his descriptions, they are so simple. For this video right here, you can see that all you can do in his descriptions is you can sign up for this online event. And he actually has 2 links, but this is also the same link. So this is all you can do. You can only sign up for this online event. That's all you can do. So he probably knew that the goal with this video is to get people to sign up for this event. And I think if you scroll down to the comment section, he also wrote the exact same thing here in a pinned comment. And again, by making things so simple, things convert way higher. And this is actually a great rule of thumb to use in everything that you do. The simpler you can make it, the better it converts. That is why funnels are so popular, because funnels are pretty much just a website where you can only do one thing. There's only one path that you can take. You can either go through the funnel or you can leave. And that's why they convert way better than a website where you can do 10,000 different things. So if you want more leads and more sales, then keep your descriptions simple. All right, so the 7th mistake is that most YouTubers don't really utilize end screens that well, if at all. So let's start out by going over the framework, and then I'll also show you an example of how I do it. So the framework consists of 3 steps. First, you want to connect the video you're promoting on the end screen with the current video they're watching. So you pretty much want to tell them why the video that you're promoting and the stuff they learn in there is really important to what they just learned in this video. And then you want to tease the value, which means that you want to tell them why they should watch the video. What will the information in that video enable them to do? And then lastly, you want a call to action and tell them where to click. So now let me show you how I can do this in this video right here. Alright, so another thing that is really killing your business on YouTube is you editing your own videos. Oftentimes, business owners seem to think that they save a bunch of money editing their own videos, but in reality, it's actually costing them a lot of money. So now I want you to watch this video next, because in that, I show you exactly why editing your own videos keeps you poor and what you can do about it. So click here and watch that, and then I'll see you in there. Bye.